Right, back again to continue, I think, with the fourth video in this series of overly long rambling videos about the Nokia Lumia 920 phone. Please give me a like if you like this, subscribe if you want to see other videos, likes are somewhere over there. In the description of this video I will link to the others in this series. What this is about is my experiences with this phone after 3 months of owning it. And you can decide whether you want to purchase this phone yourself after listening to my comments. I'm going into lots and lots of detail, so skip through or bear with me as I now address some more features around the operating system and then get into some apps. I'm going to address music and videos in particular. I'll address SkyDrive and Office. I'll have a look at the marketplace and some suggestions around other apps for that. And I'll briefly look at newsreaders because you tend to use those a lot. So yeah, let's get straight on to this. At the end of the last video I mentioned pinning. When you're using this type of phone, Windows Mobile, it really comes into its own if you use the home screen or the start screen as a desktop, like on your desktop computer. The whole point of the desktop is to put things you're working on there. You put files there, you put programs there, you put shortcuts to folders there, you drop things there temporarily and so on. Some people don't do that on a desktop computer, but those who do are immediately more productive and just can, if you can juggle lots of bits of information, it helps you work. Now, I guess if you've come from another phone and you've carefully created your start screen here with your shortcuts and so on, you might not want to touch it, and you might then leave it at that, but you shouldn't. The point of this, the way Windows Phone works, is that pinning is a very important part of it, and pinning goes very deep in some apps, but in some not deep enough. As a case in point where pinning does not go deep enough is in the settings. If you go down to your settings, these are not pinnable. You can download apps from the store that let you pin just certain ones of these, but they're all restricted by what they have access to. So you can pin the Wi-Fi, you can pin the Bluetooth, I think you can pin flight mode, and just pin a handful of things, but that's all. And then the pinned icon just goes to that particular setting. I've tried those, I haven't bothered. Now I just use my settings icon, which goes here. But I think you should be able to, for example, pin a theme. Take that as a saved theme called dark teal and pin it. Pin a different theme, right? A theme for nighttime, a theme for work, a theme for the weekend, especially if I think they should allow later on, which I'd love to see, is if they could make it so that the colors were customizable, not just preset, but I'd like a color picker. I'd like to have a color picker so I can choose that color myself, because in particular I want to do a charcoal theme. I want to have a theme that's black background and then charcoal tiles, that sort of thing. Be able to pick just do something like that. They probably need a background color, the accent color, and the tile color separately, and then make those pinnable so you can save them and pin them. That would be fun. So I'm just pointing out that not everything is pinnable, which is a shame. In particular, here on the Nokia phone, because this is a Nokia feature, is the thing I showed you in an earlier video. Click. The audio equalizer. You should be able to pin these, or pin more than one of these to your start screen. That would be cool. Because it'd be nice to be able to change that without having to come in here, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and then pick another one, and then forget the one that you had already set up. Or maybe it was your custom one. It'd be great to be able to pin that, or pin the Dolby headphones. You want to pin those things. So the settings are not generally pinnable, and that's a problem. Well, it's just a bit disappointing. Everything else is very pinnable. And one thing you should always do straight away is pin people that you communicate with quite often to your start screen. So, you know, you find someone in your Friends hub, and then you pin them. And let me just, who have I been interacting with? There, that person there. Allison, okay. Oops. So I'll go into here, and this is that person, I'll just cover up. Oh, sorry. And then I'll just pin them. So there's that person pinned to the start screen. And the name comes up, and the messages, anything I'm doing with them actually comes up on the tile. If there's a new message from her, it'll come up on the tile. And of course I can resize those. If I don't need to see the new messaging, I can make it small. But if I'm quite keen to see everything, I make it big. That's really useful. If you get rid of that person like that, you should get used to doing that on the fly. Not like, oh, I'm carefully making a screen that's going to stay this way forever. Start pinning people during the day. I'm pinning this person now because I'm going to see them in an hour or whatever. You know, or if I'm waiting for a message from that person, pin them. Pin them on the screen. And that's really good. These tiles anyway are good because they give you all your recent interaction with that person. So whatever I've been doing recently, my history with this person is right there. Texts, phone calls, messaging, everything. All their contact information. This is the power of Windows Phone. It's so great because this person's, I've got 6 accounts linked together to give this person his settings. 2 Hotmails, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. All of these are linked together for that person. And so it's not just one contact, it's a whole bunch of contacts for one person all merged together. So that's really useful as well. Bit of a downside with that, if the person doesn't have their information correct in these things, you can get incorrect phone numbers and things. But I think that will change over time because people are not yet used to using their Facebook or their Microsoft account information as their genuine contact information. But over time, as phones start using Facebook and other services for contact information, people will need to learn to keep that information updated. And so that will improve over time. But you can always change a number. If the number's wrong, you know, don't dial. If the number's wrong, you can edit whichever one of those you think it is, or just any of them, and change a number. So you can do that. So pinning people is great. New in Windows Phone 8 is being able to create these groups and rooms, which I have not been using yet, but I think they are very useful. There are slightly different variations of grouping contacts together and being able to message them all and so on. Certainly groups is very useful for work, for project groups and so on. I think that's got a lot of potential. And then you pin the group to your home screen, and anything the group is up to is shown on the tile. You can also pin, you can of course, you know, find an album. Pause that. And where's the pinning for this? Go to the album. So pin that to the screen. And that should bring in the album art at some point. But in any case, I can go straight to it like that. So as long as you're listening to during the day, you can pin them and create a little corner where you've got all your favorite music pinned. Same idea, same concept. Of course, games, you don't have to have the games hub. You can just pin the games themselves, like there or there. Especially games that have notifications. Games hub will show you notifications, but the individual tiles will as well. So that's quite useful. Also very useful for pinning map locations. So when I've been away traveling with this phone, I would go to places that I've searched. Let's say I'm going to find there. So this is the place that I'm not there actually. Excuse me. One of these was a campground that I was using. So So I'd say I'm traveling up in this city and I found a place. There was a campground, for example. This was a restaurant, that's right. And it was a restaurant someone gave me. So I searched it, found it, pinned it to the screen. And then the next day, all I had to do, there it is. Oh, sorry, there it is on the screen. All I had to do was when I was driving, quickly go, where did I have to go? Pull it up. And of course, this is the huge benefit of Windows Phone 8 and Nokia phones. Get your directions. And you get the fabulous, look how far away that is, about 1,000 miles away, up country, because I was up there. Anyway, that'll give me directions all the way there. Start navigation. Oops. Take out the headset. Finding a route all the way across the country.
Now turn left and then turn right.
And away we go. And this works fabulously well. Stop navigation. So the point there was, I gather there's a whole lot more pinning options as well. So I can pin this particular thing as well, and you can share directions and all that sort of thing. So you pin your locations in a foreign city. You just pin all your locations to the screen, to your home screen. And just keep them there. You can have a whole string of them as a lapse, and that's a great way to find your way back to your hotel, back to your work, whatever your conference center, whatever you're doing. That's proven really useful. And the same goes for documents. So I use OneNote. So I'm going to there. Go into all this rubbish. Say unfiled notes. Pin that to start. These are my notes for this particular video. So whilst I'm out and about, if I'm taking notes for this, I can keep coming in here to this OneNote and add notes for this video. There we go. So documents, places, locations, SkyDrive locations, anything can be pinned to your screen, and that should be made use of because it's very, very useful. You keep your screen dynamic. So generally down the bottom here of the screen is stuff that I'm sort of mucking around with. It's not organized, whereas the top of my screen is sort of stuff that's fairly permanent. So pinning is fantastic. The SkyDrive Office, I use OneNote, fantastic app. I just showed you there that here's OneNote. I keep the notes in there for that. On my tablet here, I've demonstrated this in another video. On my tablet here, I can use OneNote Metro. This is too bright to look at probably, but same information there on the two, and it's always in sync at all times. As well as OneNote Metro, we have OneNote Desktop. What wants to access my firewall? I'll have a look at that in a moment. But there's OneNote Desktop as well. So same information again, but this time the full Office version because this is a full Windows 8. That tablet here, this little thing. And so, and on my desktop computer in front of me, of course, I have OneNote and I have various things pinned to my desktop there. So that whole thing works seamlessly across all these devices, and that to me is how it's supposed to work. That's what I want this phone for, that's what I want the tablet for, and that's why I run Windows and use Office. Just that seamless integration across all devices, and it works. I'm finding it very useful. SkyDrive, fantastic if you got your Microsoft account, which you have if you've got a Windows 8 or phone. You should get Windows 8 if you've got Windows Phone 8. Yeah, I'm finding it better than Windows 7 was. In SkyDrive, I find this very useful. It's great that in Windows Phone 8 you can upload full-size images to your phone. What's not so great, and I found myself wanting to do this while I was away traveling. I wanted to, and it's surprising this isn't in the phone, from my photos. So I'd been creating Facebook, putting all my select images to my Facebook page to post. So because of Facebook, it uploads a resized image. You can comment, put a comment in, a caption, and then it gets posted. But I didn't see why this should be on Facebook, because I also wanted to make an album that I just wanted to share with some people. I actually wanted to do a bit of a blog with the images. That wasn't a Facebook page, wasn't my Facebook page. And I thought, well, I should be able to do it to SkyDrive. So if you go to share, if you save to SkyDrive, it just saves the whole image up to SkyDrive. But you can't tell it where to put it. It just puts it in your own private folders. Okay, so that's fine, but there's no way to share it to SkyDrive and create a folder. So you need to be able to make a folder, make destinations on SkyDrive and set them for public viewing and get a URL or send the URL out to people. Share the URL on Facebook, for example, so that people can then come and see your Facebook, your SkyDrive photo blog. Because the SkyDrive photos, I'll demonstrate this very quickly on my desktop computer. There's computer, and I will turn down the brightness. Go to, and I need to touch upon this actually, windowsphone.com. As soon as you get your Microsoft account set up with Windows Phone and everything, you get all of this stuff at windowsphone.com. So you sign in there, and on the My Phone menu, you've got My Phone, Find My Phone, which works really well. And on Find My Phone, you can see where you are. You can ring your phone, you can lock it, you can erase it. The ringing is cool because it will, of course, turn the phone on, and it'll turn the ringer on if you had it off, and so on, and ring it. And that's fantastic. It has proven very, very useful, and I've used it to find my phone, and my wife's phone is excellent. And the good thing is you don't have to set this all up. It's all set up for you. So it's already there once you've set up your phone and got your Microsoft account. It's all done. That's really cool. Part of that also is the apps and games. You can go and browse apps and games online rather than doing it through the phone. And if you find things here that you like, you can install things straight from the website to your phone. You can install this right from here. You see, if you click on Buy or Try, it'll send it to your device, which is great. Another part of this, which is very nice, is your purchase history on your personal menu. See, this tells you all the phones that you've had installed or purchased at any time. There's pages and pages of those. So if you wipe your phone, or you don't want to use the backup to reinstall all the same apps, you just want to reinstall some of them, you come here and you just find the app and you just click reinstall, and that'll put it back on your device. So that's great. The whole thing's excellent. Part of this, though, also is, what the hell is that? Lie.com. Well, serves me right for typing, missing out the V, and go live.com. Don't go to live.com, lie.com. It's a domain squatter or whatever. Okay, so here in my email, which I shouldn't show you too much of, this is outlook.com style email, which is great. But if you go up the top, you can go to SkyDrive, and in here, there's some very cool features as part of this. One of them is, for example, here, public folders. I made a public folder. There's a public folder that I then shared with someone, and I gave that person editing rights. And what's very nice is that this whole thing gives you this very stylish, nice interface here with the tags and the EXIF information, commenting and everything, and the nice thumbnail display along the bottom. It works very, very well. It's great. I wanted to be able to upload my photos from the phone to a folder like this, and then be able to share that link through the phone. Now, it doesn't do that. It should definitely do that, because basically that's what it's doing on Facebook. And if it can do it on Facebook, it should be able to do it on Microsoft's own system. So as it stands, you can't really do this. All you can do is upload your images to a folder on SkyDrive that's private, and that's it. That may change in the future. Apart from that, very cool features that are part of this whole thing, because when you get a phone like this, you get a Microsoft account and you set all this up.
Let me just try and get that focusing. Okay. Down here is a very cool feature. Through your SkyDrive, you can access all your other computers. Like if I'm away and I log into my SkyDrive, I can come in here and access my home computer or my tablet. Actually access the files on it, which is very cool. I mean, if you left a file at home, you can go to your computer and go and browse my docs and find the file. It's amazing. Without having to set anything else up. That's the point. You don't have to set anything else up. Other very cool thing, of course, with SkyDrive is, of course, being able to do Office Online docs. It's all free. It's all part of the system. So, meh. Demo file. Let's just open that. That's an Excel spreadsheet. So it opens up these web apps which work in all modern browsers, which are excellent. You know, you can work on actual Office documents. That's an XLSX file right there. You can work on real Office documents on your SkyDrive without having to own Office or anything. And the apps are very good. They're quite powerful for this type of thing. So I think that's excellent, and just for fun, that's a very fancy file. Let's open that same file here on the phone. It's going to look nothing like that, but maybe it'll give us some of the data. Yeah, without the charts. I'd be surprised if it gave us much. So I'll go to the SkyDrive, right? This is the same system. Now this is under Website Demo Files, SkyDrive. Where is that? Website Demo Files. Maybe that's just something that sits here online. I'm just going to back out of that. Right. These must be some something that they've created and shared possibly with everyone. Where did I find that? So I go up, presentation. Yeah, it's not there. Let's just launch that presentation right there. That's a PowerPoint presentation. And I'm sort of showing you what the phone is about. So this is one of the big benefits of this phone is the seamless integration with Office Online, Office on your home computer, Office Everywhere, SkyDrive, the whole thing. So what does it say? Integrate external content. Is that actually a proper... Doesn't look like that's got anything decent in it. Oh, I think I just tried that out. I recall doing that. Well, I'm not sure I've got anything decent here. These are my OneNote files, which I can't really go into. Let's go up to here. Let's create a PowerPoint presentation one. Create. There we go. Here's the PowerPoint web app. And this is loading up for the first time right now, so it's never been launched, this PowerPoint, on this machine. Let's pick one of the themes. There. Apply that. So it's loading that theme. Add a title. My Lumia 920. Subtitle. What it is. Okay, so there's the slide. Make a new slide. Title. This is the best phone ever. Yep, it is. Okay, so I've made that document, and we'll just get out of there. I'm going to fire up the phone, and we'll just see if that has turned up. So that's there. There's documents. There it is. Okay, now the important point is I just made that on my desktop computer, and now I'm firing it up on my phone, which is just about flat, having been on for a full day now. And it's down to 1.2 meg file. It's quite a large presentation. It's that whole theme and everything, but it's getting the whole thing onto the phone here. Opening it. There it is. My Lumia, what it is. There's the next one. Go like this. And edit. And we can change that information. My Lumia 1000. That's going to be my next Lumia, right? Okay. I will just back out of that. You want to save that? Yep. Most of the apps like OneNote and stuff, you don't have to save it, but in this case, there's obviously a lot of data involved, and so it saves. It does all the version checking. It's great. You can work on documents with multiple people and everything, so it's excellent. So there I backed out of SkyDrive, right? Let's go back here to the website, and obviously that's going to have that change in it. And my tablet will have the same change as well. So this is really nice. And you can do this without owning Office, you see. As long as you're connected on the web. You know, it's like Google Docs. It works without paying anything, without having Office. You can still work on Office Docs and work on them anywhere. All just with your what might have been your 15-year-old Hotmail account, which is exactly what it is for me. There we go, it's my Lumia 1000. Next slide, best phone ever. So, the point here about the phone is that the whole SkyDrive integration is excellent. Love it. And if you were an early adopter, you might still have your free 25 gigs of SkyDrive space. If you're not, then you will only have 7 gigs. I haven't used mine all up, but I intend to. Okay, back to the phone. Alrighty, back to the phone. Last things around the operating system. Skype. Let that boot up. Okay, sorry for that. Just vanished for a moment. Just looking for a lead because this is actually slowly running out of juice. It's been running in battery saver mode for a while now. Yeah, I don't know, it might stop eventually. So it's telling me now that it's down to 10% or so. So see, it's there all the time now, that little thing that's got a little heart in it. That's what it does when the battery's low. It also gives you a test notification. So Skype, I find it works really well. It's fully integrated in terms of usage, so when you receive Skype calls without having the app launched or anything. Once it's installed, it works. It's just working in the background. And it works quite well as a phone. The front and the back camera both work. That all works fine. If you use one of them, I think if you use the back camera, then this turns to speakerphone, Skype speakerphone. But when you use when you use the front camera, it's speakerphone, and the back camera, it's not. It's something like that. I was able to switch between them during the call and get different results. OneNote is great. Sorry, I've just lost my way a little bit here. Skype, Office, OneNote is great. Excel, PowerPoint, they're all great. Very useful when people send you attachments on email to have these apps, like Excel. Be able to look at an email and see the actually be able to read the read the files. Now this is interesting though. See, perhaps the search unread, flagged, urgent. See, one might want to, for example, find an attachment. Oh, there it is. There it is. So it is there. It's got a little attachment icon next to it. So here's an email, and it opens instantly. There's the attached Excel spreadsheet, because this person has given me this information as a spreadsheet, and you can read all the information and do whatever you want with it. So it's really cool to be able to do that on the phone. I was able to check that out and comment back on it without having to come over and open the file or anything. So that's great. Don't save the changes. Okay, that's excellent. Maps. Maps is excellent. Nokia Maps, it's excellent, but also has a problem. Okay, everyone talks about maps. Now, the Nokia owns, what did they do? They bought Navtech. And so they've got excellent sat-nav data, a sat-nav system. And Nokia Drive is a sat-nav. It's your car sat-nav. And it does an extremely good job of that. It works offline. You download your map, and away you go. So if I go offline, go into my settings, manage maps, and these offline maps are also used in Nokia Maps, which is sort of the the Bing Maps, Google Maps type of app. So I've got New Zealand on here, 62 megabytes all up. Anywhere I want to go to Australia, 294 megabytes. I can just have that map on the phone, and it works offline. You go into flight mode, the whole thing works offline. And it's got points of interest in it. It's not just a straight map. It's actually quite a useful map. That said, the points of interest are the one thing that are not so good on... it's the big benefit, the major advantage of Google Maps is the POI data, the point of interest data, which Google gets obviously from its own search engine and from Google Places or Google Local, which is a feature where businesses and so on fill out their information, and Google also does it for them in advance until they find the page and then take ownership of it. That information is on Google Maps, and so you get really good information when you just type a search on Google Maps, something random. Whereas with a sat-nav, typically the information has to be in the mapping data. So the business information has to all be gathered sometime long in advance and put in the offline mapping data, and that's where it is. Whereas with Google Maps, it's pulling it off the web, off its own daily search results. So you get much better POI data. This has to be treated a bit more like a sat-nav, where when you're searching for locations and streets, you should try and be accurate. You should know the name of the street. You can't just make something up or say, give me supermarkets here. It sort of does things, but you should be pretty clear about what you're searching. It's not going to find a person. Whereas on Google Maps, you could probably type someone's name and you probably get a result. It's like that, whereas this is not going to do that. So you treat it like a sat-nav, and it's a marvelous thing, and you could drive all the way up and down the country 1,000 miles and not use a byte of data. And I did that, and it worked very well. Downside was that the battery, it used the battery quite heavily, so I had it plugged into the charger all the time in the car while driving around doing that. But it was very nice. I love having the speedo thing, what tells you your speed, but even cooler, it beeps at you when you go over the speed limit. And that was very useful. It was great, telling me when I was over the speed limit. It's beeping at me all the time. I like that. Really cool. Integrates all these Nokia mapping apps. They sort of integrate together, and they're all very cool. They're sort of bringing them more and more together, also under this HERE brand. But you've got Nokia Maps, which is like standard Google Maps, and again, it's perfectly good maps, but it falls down on the POI. apart from that, it works very well. And it also leads straight from here. Any search from here finds POIs, and then you can go straight into the Nokia Drive navigation from here as well. And you can pin things and get directions, whatever. But it also goes through Transit, Nokia Transit, which has just had an update to the new Here brand. So, continue. This is surprisingly good. I don't use a lot of public transit, but if I'm traveling, I might. If I was overseas in Europe, I would definitely use this a lot. You pick a journey, you go to your friend's place, and so I'm always looking on this for my friend who's always catching a bus home from town. And it tells us that at 12:05, these are all the possible routes. There's actually no buses. 7 minutes ago there was one. How long to get to the bus stop, where to walk to, and then home, etc., etc. And it knows a surprising amount of public transport information from all over the world. This is very cool. I'm not using it a lot, but it's very cool, and I will definitely use that overseas. I think that's probably a very effective thing. And you can pin your things to the start screen, and you can save it for someone else and share it and so on your social networks or wherever for email, and that all works very well. So that's very cool. The City Lens is also uses all of this same information, and this has been getting better and better. The concept is, of course, great. There are apps on other devices that do this. There's the LAR system, but so this is not new, but it's very good. This is sort of the best one, and it's built into the phone and it's free. So you explore the city, calibrate the silly phone. Okay, shows me the city, and it's showing me. Yep, that's actually pretty much correct. This has changed again since I last launched it. They keep changing the way it works in the layout. I think it's still improving it. I've given them a whole lot of feedback on this too. Maybe they've used some. We'll see. So that is actually correct. It's telling me which way I'm pointing and what's there. And if I move it up like this, then it becomes a camera, and it's this would be pointing out on the street, but it's just pointing at my desktop monitor. And as I move it around, I'll get these little things that I can tap on, and if I want to go there, it tells me about it, and so on and so forth, more information about that item, and it goes into maps, and from there you can go into Drive, etc., etc., and get directions. It works quite well. Oh yes, and when you go from that to that, it gives you all the same information with a little compass here, and just the names of the places, right, like that. The only trouble with this is, again, the POIs are rubbish. Again, Google Maps has much better point of interest information. This restaurant there hasn't been there for 15 years, right? I've actually put information in here saying this restaurant has not been here. Okay, if I go to reviews, that's my review. I put this in. I went, this restaurant closed around 15 years ago. Location is currently, in 2013, occupied by another restaurant named Hazel. Okay? Right, you go back out. 2 further down is Hazel. Focus, you silly thing. There's Hazel. See, they're both 60 meters away in the same direction. Well, Hazel is the one that's been there for a few years now, and is the current occupant of that establishment. Now this is pointing to the same place. It says my notification about the battery. Reviews. This has some reviews because it's a current restaurant, obviously. And I've put one in here. I actually added one because the description of a bar restaurant, you would never go there and have drinks. That's not what it is. But there's my information in there. Most of this information is from TripAdvisor, so that's where they're getting a lot of this data from. So in some cases it's good. But overall, it's not as good as Google Maps, because the data in it is not as good. But the whole experience is fantastic, and if the data improves, it'll be great. It's still good to use, and I definitely use it when I'm out and about. This transport one tells you where things are, buses and so on trains and whatever. Links up to the transport app, etc., etc. And so that's an interesting app. It's quite neat. It's quite fun to sort of see what's going on around you. And it generally works. Now this phone is complaining about being flat, which does not surprise me. I did this, we're at 40 minutes, so I'm just going to put this in here and get a charge going. I'll just show you the screen quickly, what happens on my desktop. Okay, there. It changes, and I'll just hold my hand up so you can see. This is all white, but it's actually the Windows Phone app, as in the Metro desktop app for the phone. So this is showing me, it's like the old Zuni thing, but this is the Metro desktop one. So it shows me my photos here on the left. It shows the music, videos, and apps and things and so on. It's just got a whole bunch of links to do with the phone. It shows battery power up in the top there, I can see. And down at the bottom there's a bar saying how much data has been used and so on and so forth. From here you can move music and videos onto the phone and off the phone. I've got it set so that it automatically saves the pictures off the phone onto my computer when I plug in. But in addition to that, so I'll just close that, you can also run one that is on a desktop version of the same app. Not of the same app, something similar. That again was also meant to sort of replace the old Zune thing, which I didn't like, but a lot of people liked. I didn't like because it was really slow, and I can't stand the apps that don't organize things in folders, that always try and use metadata. And so this is now looking at my, this is now looking at my phone, at my PC. It's scanning and updating itself. This is all the junk that's on my PC. And if you click over this side, you can see what's on your phone, all the stuff that's on the phone, right? And you can click things and sync things across and so on. And so this provides a simple interface for getting stuff onto the phone. I'm going to do a separate video after this where I talk about Xbox Music and data and so on, because it's important to how you use the device, and I've made big changes in the way I work with information and music files since I've had this phone and Windows 8. I do it all quite differently now, and I think that's what Windows 8 requires. It requires a rethink about how you do things. So that's the Windows Phone desktop app. It's complaining it can't load a particular app, a particular video. Don't know what that is, but don't really care. That's what that's for. It's sort of like the old Zuni thing. Okay, I'll just close that because I'm not really using it. And we'll come back down here to the phone. Let's brighten things up a bit. Oops, come on. Okay. Some last comments about this video will be about just a few usage things. Tethering. If you have purchased yourself a device like a tablet, like this one, then you will, and tablets, I don't buy a tablet that has its own SIM card, because I don't want to handle 2 accounts and 2 SIM cards and everything. I just want to use the phone as my internet connection. So that tethers this. It works fine. A couple of issues. In real use, the way you use it is you go to your settings. You go to your settings, and again, this should be able to be pinned, but it can't. You go to your settings, turn on internet sharing. You go like that, you go like that. and it then launches it. It gives you a password, which I've already installed on the put on the tablet. So you just basically at that point you can turn your phone off, right? Put it aside. You can go to your tablet device, and I'll just put my password thing in there. Go to your tablet, have a look. There's my wireless. There it is. There you go. Now it's connected to the phone through the phone's data connection. So that's great. I find, and I go out to work, I go to meetings, and I do that. Now there's a bit of a hassle because I have to turn this on, or I remember to turn it on before I go into what I'm doing. And then I fire this up, and it works. However, because I'm not, sitting solidly on this device doing stuff, this thing doesn't stay on forever. It actually tells you that it's going to turn off after a few minutes of non-use. So if it detects that it hasn't been used for what they call a few minutes, it disables the internet sharing, the tethering, and you then need to re-enable it again. And obviously it has to do that to save power, because what else can you do? But typically, I'm on here, I'm doing something for a minute, and then I'm talking to someone for 5 or 10 minutes, or talking, in a meeting or whatever, and then I go back to this, and I do something, and I'm offline. So then it's back here to the phone, hook it up again, back over here again, refresh everything and relaunch it. But by then I will have gone through the whole drama of launching IE, waiting around for a page to then not load, and then connecting and then trying to refresh everything. It's just a bit of a drama, which is not working too well. So that I think I may be able to resolve by extending the time that the tablet stays on in battery mode. If this is on all the time, like a lot longer, currently it switches off after 4 minutes and then the goes into standby after 5. So often I come back to it and I need to turn it back on again after just a few minutes, and then it's disconnected. So what I really need is make it so it stays on for 15 minutes, and that would then cover those times when I'm away from it, and it would keep itself online and keep going. So I think that's the solution for that. This has plenty of battery life, so that's not a worry. It can stay on. So I need to solve that issue. That's a little bit of a problem. Because that also affects the syncing, the perfect syncing between all the OneNote apps and the SkyDrives too. It's nice if it's in perfect sync, but if it isn't in perfect sync, it takes you a minute or two to figure that out, and then another minute to go through all the drama you have to go through to get it working again. So, nearly there, not quite. That's tethering. Great to have it. Another one that's interesting to do with the tablet is I was turning the tablet on, and because I want to type on it, I'd go, I want something underneath the tablet, and so I'd put my phone under it. The phone would be off, and I'd just put it like that and put it under the tablet, giving myself a nice keyboard to type on, da-da-da-da-da. And then it would crash. The thing would freeze up. I'd turn away a minute, look back, the whole thing would be black, and I could only get it back on after holding the off button down for a few minutes. It would eventually come back on. It appears to be that these two devices don't work that well close together. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't hold them together. They cause each other to crash, or this causes that to crash. So that's a bit of a pain. Another thing that works really well, I'll try and get this back a little bit. Excuse my finger marks all over these devices now that I've been fondling them for a couple of hours. Something that is cool is the NFC sharing, which works. Find a picture. Oops, what was that about? Find a picture. Let's go for that bamboo. Let's go for the flowers there. And I want to share this through NFC with this tablet or my Surface Pro or whatever I've got as a tablet. This thing has got NFC in it, so this is on and this is on. And all you have to do is go to Share, tap and send. Now I keep Bluetooth and NFC and Wi-Fi on all the time. I just keep everything on all the time. and I get a day's use out of the phone. It seems to be fine. I'll mention something about battery life in a moment. So you tap and send, and it says tap your phone against another device. So I'll go here, and I know the tap and send thing is on the back up here on this Asus. There was a sticker there that I took off. So hang on, where is it? Well, it was there. Okay, doesn't work. I did this yesterday, it worked. I have a video review about this, where I believe I also ran into a problem. Oh, I wonder if it doesn't work because I've got them tethered together or something. I wonder if it's something to do with anything like that. Because maybe it's wanting me to Wi-Fi them, use the home group or something. It's possible. So just in case, I'll just turn off that sharing. Off you go. Okay. And now I'll go find a picture again. Let's use that picture. Share. Tap and send. Okay. Ready to go. Go around to the back. Whoops, I've lost it because I touched the one of the buttons. There it is again. Share, tap and send. Well, there we go. That failed. Not always reliable, that particular feature. I'm sort of only partly surprised because I've had trouble with that issue basically twice, but other times it's worked perfectly. So I'm just going to let that computer reboot, let the tablet reboot, and talk briefly about battery life, because that's a big issue. And I'm sorry it's taken this long to get through the videos to talk about battery life. The phone, a lot of people complain about freezing and battery life and so on. And I was worried about that at first. The Lumia 800 had a firmware update that basically solved all its battery life issues. It took the power draw down from around 300 milliamp down to 70 or 80, so it was excellent. I assumed that if there were any battery issues with this, that they would similarly offer an update and it would solve that. As it stands, I've had a couple of problems with battery life. Definitely when I'm using photos and videos and on holiday, you've got to keep topping it up with your car charger or whatever. But if you just use it as a normal phone for a work day, you get a full work day. I get a full work day. I basically got full work day just now, plus sitting here going through all these videos up until now. Doing all sorts. Plus I played Wordament all day for quite a bit. I did, however, this past week have a real battery drain problem, and it was draining within hours each day. It was a terrible drain. I didn't know what was going on. I suspected it was an app that I'd installed or something. And then last night I finally discovered what it was. I looked into my inboxes, and I'd always noticed that one of the inboxes I wasn't receiving email, so I looked at the settings and it was stuck on synchronizing. And it wouldn't go off synchronizing. It was just stuck on that. So it was permanently synchronizing all day. That's what it was doing. It was just draining the data, just synchronizing. So I went to the webmail server, cleared the inbox out, and that fixed it. It wasn't a password issue. It was just some faulty email. I got rid of that, and that resolved it. So now I'm back to normal battery life. So that's great. Well, great to have battery life, but battery life is not great. It's fine. It's okay. It's what you expect from a phone like this. Now I'll just do this once more. Let's pick the image, go into the thingy, share this. I'm going to go tap and send, go to the back. There we go. Is that oh, sorry. One of the worst things about this is having to hold the phone and constantly touching these buttons. So, it's too easy to touch the buttons. So I do that. Waiting. Receive content. Tap to receive content from other device. There we go. So now, one sending, one sharing. It's not very fast. Bluetooth isn't very fast. 20%. I'm not sure how big that file is. We'll just check it in a moment. But in any case, there it does. There it's happening. It's not something you send thousands of files through, but it's certainly good enough to send individual files. And when other people have phones that do it, it'll be an interesting way to share stuff without having to use your data connection. Okay. Just let that finish up. And we'll go and see what happens. So that says, do you want to open it? Open folder to view files. Sure, let's do that. There's the folder. There's the file. And if this was going to focus for me, focus. Come on, you silly camera. Sorry about the gear. There we go. Okay, there's the image. It is, it's 5.7 megabytes. It's quite large. Open it, and there we have it. There's the photograph. Taken on the Lumia phone. That might have scrolled past one of my videos earlier where I'm going to show some of the photos I take on the phone. So that's how NFC works. Tap and share or whatever. It does work well, but obviously this needed a restart. It's been on for a few days, or don't know how long. Something was holding that back. So that works very well. Well, when it works well. You can send all kinds of things over a tap and share, files and so on. It has to be on the phone. It can't be a file off your SkyDrive. You'd have to get it onto the phone first and then send it, so far as I'm aware. So that's nearly an hour. I'm going to finish this video up. And decide whether I do one more. There is going to be one more about the Music Pass, the Xbox Music and so on, because I do have some tips around that are fairly important. So, yep, let's get right into it. I'll stop this now and do the next one. Thanks for watching. If you like it, watch the next video, watch the earlier videos, give me a like, somewhere there, like, subscribe. And we will soon fill up YouTube servers with all this endless blathering. Thanks, bye-bye.